Welcome back to Daybreak. We're still talking about Parliament and the people. I wish you could just take a look at some of the feedback of what Kenyans have been saying online as far as parliamentary leadership that is in studio, what they have been talking about. Once we're ready, we'll be looking at that. But we took a break from the point of view of that now will be you'll be broadcasting proceedings of committees live. What is the wisdom that is informing this? And then again, how will you do it? Because the last time I checked, there's one channel for Bunge and then another channel for Senate. Committees, you can have several committees sitting at the same time, so how do you prioritize who gets the coverage, or how are you planning to do this exactly?
First, let me start from where I think my good sister left on the issue of the kind of work we are doing. Take, for example, I want us to look at Public Accounts Committee, for example, something that has happened in this Parliament. The Public Accounts Committee has brought its report up to date. The effect of that is that it increases incredibly the amount going to the counties. Nobody would talk about that. People would very quickly say, look, the Parliament has reduced money is going to the counties. Now, that is what happens. You've also asked about the issue of a few members contributing in committees. You must also understand, and this is actually what informed us to make the decision to go live, that the sheer number of members of Parliament now is very high. I mean, if you went to a committee and you want every member to contribute on a particular day, the most likely thing is that they will take a long time on some issues. So that's one problem that we have. But coming back to your question, the issue why we have decided to go live is, one, we want the public to be with us. First of all, it's even a constitutional issue. The public have a right to information. We want to make sure that they are able to see what we are doing. It should be open for them to see, because we have opened it anyway. The only thing is we have not put it live. Right. So members of public would come to our committees, but there's also some difficulties with that, because assessing Parliament sometimes has its own challenges in terms of security and so forth.
And speaking of access to Parliament, I want to take what Sam asked about a bit further, the issue of competence, especially in individuals. Honorable Lesuda, perhaps this one will be towards yours. The selection of the chairperson committee, how does that happen? Take Kenyans through that.
That's my...
He's the one who...
Yeah, I'm the chairman of the selection committee. But even before I go to that, let me say that you've asked a good question, why some reports are rejected. In Parliament, there are a number of interests. There's ethnic interest. Kenya is a parliamentary democracy. The parties can have an interest in a report. The executive is present in Parliament through its party. They can have an interest. You saw, for example, in the 11th Parliament, where a group of members of Parliament were escorting Anwar Guru. It is outside the procedure of Parliament. But that is the friendship of ethnic interest. I mean, it's one of the, if you ask me and Mbadi, is one of the things that we really raised, and the Deputy Speaker, we raised it. It was it was out of order. So there are a number of interests that goes in Parliament. There's regional interest in terms of even appointment, which we cannot stop. And that's why some of us believe that our politics is so ethnicized, so tribalized. So some reports, and it's good to be frank to the people of Kenya, some reports suffer because of interest, even gender interest. You know, I remember when the first time we started the vetting of the CSS, and the Parliament rejected the nomination of
Phyllis
Kandia. I mean, the women members of Parliament were up in arms.
They're always speaking of women.
So no, I'm just saying. I'm saying the gender interest, the regional interest. So I agree with you. I agree with you. But number one, the selection committee works with the whips and the leadership of the political parties in Parliament. And in the presidential system, we have the majority and the minority.
Right.
And for you to become a parliamentary party, within the reading of the standing orders, you must have 5% of the total number of the 349. So the only three parties, as we speak today, who are parliamentary parties is Jubilee, ODM, and Wiper, which is on the edge. If they lose one or two, they'll get out of the bracket. So how do we share the slots? We share slots based on the number of members of Parliament. For example, now, most committees have 19 members. And I think 12 are from Jubilee and they are coalition partners. So we have a coalition partners, Jubilee. We have KANU, we have PDR, we have a number of independents. So we have 12 members out of the 19. The 7 will come from the minority. But there are certain committees. So we have got 3 categories of committees. We have got the departmental committee, we have got the financial and audit committee, which are 4, and we have got the other select committee and housekeeping.
Right.
So in total we have 33 committees in the National Assembly. And these 33 committees, there are 3 committees which are exclusively, the chairs must come from the opposition, because they deal more. And this is a practice all over. If you go to the House of Commons, if you go to the House of the Congress. So the 3 are the Public Accounts Committee, the Public Investment Committee, and the Committee of Implementation. And that's why the implementation...
But is it just a tradition, or it's in the standing orders?
It is in the standing orders.
Okay.
And in fact, in the Public Accounts Committee and Public Investment Committee, even in the membership, the opposition, the minority, has one more. Because these are the committees that deal with the audits, the oversight. So you cannot trust them with the government party, the party that forms government. How do we place members? In fact, we are very good. We ask members to feel the area that they feel they can contribute most. So they go to where they feel they have expertise. But of course, we have seen over a period of time that there are members who go to certain committees where they conflict. You'll find a lot of the doctors going to health. You'll find
teachers.
But again, the standards are very, very clear. When a matter comes, I'll give you a good example. If you have been working for Safaricom before you joined Parliament at a very senior level, and a matter concerning Safaricom comes in, you need to excuse yourself. So you will not vote on that matter. All these things are there. But why are we having a function on Thursday? And let me say it very clearly. I've been in Parliament since 2008 with Honorable Mbadi, and Honorable Cheboy was even before us. This is the first time we have seen the Liaison Committee active. And in fact, the 11th Parliament and the 12th Parliament are known for certain serious landmarks. It's the 11th Parliament that we introduced live coverage of the chamber. It's the 11th Parliament under the leadership of Justin Muturi and our Deputy Speaker that we introduced even digitization, paperless chamber. Right now, you don't carry an order paper. It's there. And that gadget gives you, for example, if you are amending an Insurance Act, you can go to the Principal Act from the tablet in front of you. We are now doing, for the first time in the history of Kenya, a Swahili version of the standing orders. For the first time. So we are improving, but there's something...
I'm tempted to ask you what the name of those standing orders is.
In fact...
Well, if you ask Mbadi,
something
kanuni za
kudumu za bunge la taifa.
Yes, but you know, even yesterday,
but if you ask
let me finish, even yesterday, there was controversy. What do you call the petition in Kiswahili? It was a big controversy in our committee.
Maombi.
But I can tell you, you know, we are learning process. You asked a good question. Why are people coming in and signing in? In fact, our next step is to adapt the US system of committees, where, and if you have watched, every member in that committee is given 5 minutes to ask his questions. And for you to be given 5 minutes, you must go and do research. Parliament has a very robust research department. Every member of Parliament has a PA. The bills are on the website. So, you know, it is not us, the leadership, to go and make sure somebody reads. That's why you feel if you go to the committee of the whole house, where real legislation takes place, you'll never miss Honorable Nyekal. You'll never miss Honorable Makali Mulu. You'll never miss Honorable Kioni.
Right.
So there are people who have interest. It's about interest. I mean, it's about jobs. So committees, we place them according to the expertise. But something that I think people need to know is that if you don't attend a committee for 8 consecutive sittings, the director of committees is supposed to send that list of registers to the whips, and the whips can remove you.
But disciplinary within the
happened?
committees is not, would you put it to how would you grade it?
Disciplinary?
Yes.
You know, if you ask me, we have not done very well. There's a lot of.
I'm sure there are people who have missed more than 8 sittings.
There's a lot of indiscipline. Even how you treat a public servant, how you do the interrogation.
Okay.
But you know, the problem again we have in Kenya is, for you to be a very robust member of parliament and learn, you must have 2 terms. The turnover in the Kenyan electorate is too high.
It's too high.
You know, you become a member of parliament before you learn the ropes.
Okay.
Then they replace you. But you have asked the question, how do we elect chairs? And I know where you are heading. That we elected our chairs in State House. You know, as a party, which had 14 parties and merged, and now we have got, and then other coalition, the party must take, and the same even for the minority, the party must take into cognizance the different divergent interests in the party, where gender balance, regional balance, who are the ranking members. There's something ranking members who have served 2 second terms, expertise. And this is done through the party caucus, through the party parliamentary group meeting chaired by the president. And that's why, because we also want our chairs to be accountable.
Some have argued it's not the most transparent way.
Elections that are done, members can disagree with us. I mean, we have given them a recommendation when they go to do the elections, they can disagree with us.
It's more of a reward process.
But you know, like, for example, let me tell you, when we had an issue with the Africa chair and the other guys, I mean, they can't have 4 of the slots that were to be taken by the pastoralists from the north or coast region to be taken to Rift Valley. We had no problem if they took the seat of Honorable Sholei, if they took the seat of Honorable Meli. There were slots for Rift Valley. So they left the slots of their region and went to go.
So the perception out here, John Mbadi, is that, like she says, they are just tools to reward those who are loyal and to punish those that are rebellious. So how do you shed off that tag? Because we have seen some of those rebellious members of parliament punished by the powers that be.
Let me put it this way. I think those who are saying that we are placing members in committees in terms of rewards and such kind of things don't have the privilege of going through.
Are you denying that most of those seats are not given due to political reward?
Oh, I wish I could finish answering fast. Then if it is not satisfactory, then you
if you work very hard in the royal media, you will be rewarded.
Let me finish.
It's about hard work.
Let me finish my answer. Let me put the example of NASA. What we did immediately after election, after getting our slots, we sat down, all the 4 parties and other affiliates, and we allocated positions again within NASA. And we said, Wiper, go and bring us this number of members in this committee based on your numbers, and Ford Kenya and ANC and ODM. In fact, let me tell you, ODM suffered in that arrangement. Most members of these other parties didn't have a problem, but the largest complaint came from ODM. After that, we allowed our members to express their interests. And I will tell you, ODM has some of the best lawyers in parliament. But you will agree with me that those lawyers, most of them are not in the legal affairs committee because they didn't want to sit in those committees. You find the people, the brains that you have, who should sit in the legal affairs committee, wanted to go to roads, wanted to go to energy. You know, for the first time, although the other parliaments, it was a bit silent. But this parliament, something happened that was worrying me, that people had classified committees as lucrative and less lucrative. It was such a thing that I've never seen. And they classified roads, they put energy, and they put security. And these are new members. So I think there was some talk and some discussion that some committees were lucrative. But now, again, not everybody can be in that committees. One thing that you can take to the bank is that you'll find that any member we are put in a committee must have a express interest somehow, because we gave them 4 options, put in order of priority, number 1, 2, 3, 4. You will find yourself in one of those 4. So, but later on, in terms of, now to answer you, in terms of rewarding loyalty and punishing people and all that, just like we are discussing here, there are some people who don't add value to some committees. Okay. You have no reason of keeping them there. There are also a few cases where we have disciplined a few members, but I really even don't see it in this parliament, those we have disciplined. The only thing we did was remove some member from park to budget. Okay. You know, park and budget, you almost have the same professional background to be effective. Right. But now when there are regional interests to take care of, and we remove you from park because maybe there is another person from your area to budget, why should you complain? So, you should still deliver.
But if disciplinary within the house was not an issue, do you think that that would be a solution to what you're saying, this newfound challenge of where individuals refuse to be put in a certain committee because they are lucrative dockets?
Yes. I think that is correct. I think going forward, I don't know whether God will provide me an opportunity again to be making some decisions like that. But I think going forward, we need also to look at the effectiveness of members in these committees. And that is why the Leader Majority asked when we were in the House Business Committee for a report to be done for both of us, the Leader Majority and myself. Those who are not attending committees, then it means you're not interested and you're not helping the party, because party has an interest in every committee in terms of legislation. Okay. And so we need, in fact, sometimes, let me just wind up there. I've made it very clear to our membership that it is the committees that would inform the party on what their feeling on a legislation is, so that the party can call a parliamentary group meeting to take a stand. There is no way that you expect us to read all the bills.
All right. Deputy Speaker, there's a pending question, but before you respond to it, there's something I want us to take a look at. If we have that image on our screens. There you are. Do you know this image? Honorable Duale, I'm sure you know it. Kenyan journalists covering parliamentary committee sittings. This was in June 2019, and remember Deputy Speaker Justin Muturi responding to it, saying that action will be taken. They were attending a committee session. That's how they sit, and it was promised that action was going to be taken. So now, even as you transition to broadcasting live the proceedings of committees, how will you resolve that? And number two, you didn't tell me how you're going to prioritize committee sessions, because many can be happening at the same time.
Yes. First, starting Thursday, we will be picking a few committees first to be broadcast live. And then the rest of them will be recorded, so that in a portal you can be able to pick what happened in a certain other committee, because of course we have to do it in stages. So the first thing that will from that time, the ones we'll be giving priorities are particularly the pick and pack and a few other committees, and then we will transition now to broadcasting all, because it involves frequencies and it involves also resources. But on any committee that will be having a major issue at any particular time, they will be broadcast live. But this will be very brief.
How do you determine what's major?
There are issues, for example, matters of public interest. For example, if Ruaraka issue were to come back, I mean, I'm sure the Kenyans would want to really know what is happening there. And there would be others. There would be other committees which would be, for example, only dealing with the budget issues.
No, even the media, when they come to parliament, they choose where to go, where there's interest. But let me answer you on that. And I think that is, if I use the word, is being naive. Journalists over the world, journalists, don't do their work in comfort. They go to even war-torn areas.
Wow.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you. Let me finish. This parliament and last parliament, journalists have got a press center. In the 10th parliament, in fact, there was no press center. But let me ask you, in the House of Commons, when there's a serious matter, you saw how many members of parliament are standing? The House of Commons is composed of over 600 members. But the seats available are only 300.
So because the British are
let me finish. If you watch the proceedings of even right now in the U.S. Congress,
Mark Zuckerberg's case, yes.
Yes, the Intelligence and Judiciary Committee, you'll find journalists covering. A journalist, when he walks to a function, if he doesn't get a place, he will sit down and make sure he gets the best bite.
But on this,
if you ask me, if you ask me,
that's okay.
If you ask me, there are of about 10-15 seats. But because of the public interest, if 40 of them come, and the seats available are 15, and they must make sure they get the bite and they get the story. I have never seen anywhere in the world. I listen to...
So, Honorable Dole, because it's not happening in the US Congress, in the House of Commons, we can do it.
I think this, I think you cannot pin us. You better tell us that the matter, the press conference is going to be, is a hot one, can you expand the sitting place?
Maybe.
But, you know, putting maybe some of the journalists. I've seen many journalists covering international press and local press. In fact, sitting down. So they get the best, and you have been one of them.
Okay, that's your take. I'll take a response from Deputy Speaker and the former journalist.
Why are you saying my response is not sufficient?
No, I said that's okay.
No, you see...
just hold on. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, on 27th of June 2019 said, "This has been noted. I have since instructed that whenever possible, a journalist covering Parliament be adequately facilitated to do their work."
Absolutely.
And I take an interest in what that means, whether possible. I don't know whether anything has been done to make it possible.
You know, Honorable Dwale, of course, shoots from the waist and...
Is that a jurisdiction, by the way?
Which is...
Why I'm using House of Commons? Why I'm using the Congress? Before you finish. It is... There's something called in Parliament. We use the Constitution, we use the standing orders, we use other best practice, we use other jurisdiction.
We're refuting that.
Let's say this one was probably not anticipated.
Okay.
You know, we factor in the number of journalists getting into our committee room. Because, like, for example, if members of Parliament decide today, because it's an like, for example, the Waigiru case, which Honorable Dwale spoke about, when that matter was there was nowhere for members of Parliament to sit. Now, it was not anticipated. Then we would have facilitated and added more seats there. Now, what the Speaker is saying, Honorable Muturi, is that there is a possibility that we did not anticipate the magnitude of the number of members of press who would be attending that particular meeting. Now, we will be improving. We are not saying we are perfect. Even our committee rooms are not very good. But we keep improving. And of course, as we do, we will be accused by Kenyans that we are putting too much money into our comfort. But sometimes, it's actually not even our comfort. It's the comfort of even the, you know, the media and other people, and even public. So what we are trying to do is to make sure that we have more and better committee rooms. By the way, there is a building block that is coming up. When that one is ready, you would have absolutely no reason to sit on the floor and tell you, unless, of course, you like it that way.
There will be seats.
So
where do they sit when they're covering riots?
No, Honorable Dwale, I know where you're going.
Where do you sit when you're covering riots?
But riots do not happen in Parliament, Honorable Dwale.
I really don't want to go the direction.
I just want to say this, that one, it's not intentional. You know, it's not that it's intentional. Even when I was a journalist and we covered many stories, when you feel tired, you even sit on the floor, or you kneel, or you do whatever to get a story. But what I would say, and I'm not just justifying it for Parliament, as the Deputy Speaker has said, it's not intentional. Our committee rooms, I'm sure if you've come, you've said you've covered several times. For example, if we have a CS, and he comes with a whole team of his as well on one side. On one side, also the members of the committee. They are also sometimes friends of that committee, other members who have an interest, who want to ask a supplementary question or something to that issue, they also come there. So I think it is not intentional.
But this was the press center.
And by the way, do you know...
No, Deputy Speaker, allow me to say order here. So we take a short break. When we return, we have more to talk about as we conclude on this conversation about Parliament and the people. And we'll be talking about the influence of the executive and also how decisions are made during vetting committees, and then ultimately you find yourselves with people that the same Parliament is saying are not fit to hold office. So back in a moment.